we had a person, our actual suspect was on Roblox, posing as a 14-year-old girl, basically doing what he does.
In December 2025, the Government of Canada added a new entry to its list of terrorist entities. It was not a militia. It was not a foreign army. It was a decentralized online network, a network the U.S. Department of Justice had already elevated to a Tier 1 terrorism investigative matter. That network's primary operational theater was not the dark web. It was not Telegram. It was a video game played by 144 million children every single day. By the time the federal indictments were unsealed, by the time state attorneys general filed their lawsuits, the architecture of harm had already been built, brick by digital brick, into the platform itself. Let's go down. The architecture. To understand what happened on this platform, one must first understand what the platform actually is. It is not a single game. It is a publishing infrastructure, a system that allows almost any user to upload an experience built in its developer studio with minimal preemptive human review and make it available to a user base that is skewed 40 to 50% 13 years old or younger. By the fourth quarter of 2025, the platform reported 144 million daily active users, a 69% year-over-year increase, driven heavily by a 79% surge in the Asia-Pacific region. For more than a decade, the entire safety architecture rested on a single load-bearing assumption: that users would tell the truth about their birthdays. There was no biometric check, no document verification, no facial age estimation. A self-reported date typed into a field. That was the wall standing between adult predators and a population of children numbering in the tens of millions. Though the platform marketed itself as a safe co-experience metaverse, the structural reality was a reactive moderation model. Harmful experiences were filtered after publication. Harmful chat was caught after the message was sent. Harmful users were banned after the abuse, not before the contact. The burden of safety was placed on the victims, and the victims were, overwhelmingly, children. The surface layer. The visible top of the iceberg is benign: bright colors, blocky avatars, cheerful music. The layer most parents see when they glance over a shoulder at a tablet screen. There are games on this layer that are genuinely fine. A survival horror experience set inside an infinite furniture store has run for years without serious incident. A psychological horror title called Doors leans on jump scares in a procedurally generated hotel. These games draw children into the ecosystem by the tens of millions. But the surface layer is also where the structural oddities begin. Adopt Me. For years, the platform's most played experience evolved from a simple pet role-play simulator into a hyper-financialized secondary economy. Legendary digital pets became speculative assets. A culture of so-called trust trading emerged, where children were routinely manipulated into handing over high-value items. Investigative reporting documented those same legendary pets being used by adults as digital leverage, offered to children to establish goodwill, then used as a foothold to push the conversation off the platform. Brookhaven RP, an open-ended social role-play city, became notorious for what users and journalists alike began calling online dating culture: adult solicitation occurring inside an experience nominally rated for all ages. The Hindenburg Research report would later document that off-platform pornography sites were openly hosting videos featuring solicitations recorded inside the Brookhaven interface. The surface layer looks innocent. It is the surface layer that supplies the population. Every grooming case in this dossier began with a child playing one of the games on this list. The financial engine. Beneath the surface layer is a financial machine. The platform's official policies prohibit gambling. Despite that, developers have integrated loot boxes, spinning wheels, and probability-based asset generation into many of the most popular experiences. The Belgian Gaming Commission has historically classified mechanics of this kind as illegal gambling, forcing geo-blocking. They persist globally, often disguised as surprise mechanics rather than wagers. Outside the platform proper, a second economy emerged, operating off-service but plugged directly into the platform's currency. Sites with names like BloxFlip and RBXFlip allowed children to connect their accounts and wager their virtual currency on coin flips, roulette, and crash games. A class action filed under the caption Colvin versus Roblox Corporation alleged that the corporation knew about these third-party casinos, took a 30% cut of the relevant transactions, and allowed the operators to convert their winnings back into US dollars through the Developer Exchange program. The corporation, the plaintiffs argued, was effectively functioning as the central bank for an illegal gambling ring whose customers were minors. The currency is not an abstraction. The currency is the lever. It is what predators use to establish goodwill, debt, and obligation with a target. And it is what made the platform's resistance to safety reform, to anything that might depress engagement metrics, look, in the eyes of a short seller named Hindenburg Research, like a deliberate financial strategy. The Hindenburg inflection. In October 2024, Hindenburg Research published a short report on the platform. The report alleged that the corporation's trust and safety operations were deliberately under-resourced, that proactive safety recommendations, including default restrictions on contact with strangers, had been routinely rejected by executives. The report cited current and former trust and safety employees who described a moderation team of approximately 3,000 staff covering 78 million daily users. Much of that team outsourced to international call centers, with some moderators reportedly paid as little as $12 a day. A former senior product designer was quoted in the report with a single sentence that may stand as the cleanest summary of the entire institutional posture. If you limit users' engagement, the designer said, it hurts your metrics, and in a lot of cases, leadership does not want that. The same year, Bloomberg published a long-form investigation under the title Roblox Has a Pedophile Problem. That investigation reported that since 2018, U.S. police had arrested at least 24 individuals for abducting or abusing children met on the platform, including a sheriff's deputy and a teacher. This is the inflection point. After this, the regulatory and litigation responses come in waves. The federal cases. And now, back to the iceberg. The federal prosecutions are documented in court records, sentencing memos, and Department of Justice press releases. We will treat them at the level of the public legal record, names of adult defendants who have been charged or convicted, charge counts, sentencing outcomes, and nothing further. In 2023, Arnold Castillo, a developer of a popular game on the platform, was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Castillo had used his standing as a developer to build trust with underage fans and ultimately paid a rideshare driver $1,000 to transport a 15-year-old victim 700 miles across state lines. He had been the subject of repeated public warnings for years. Each ban was followed by a new account. The platform's moderation did not stop him. In April 2025, Matthew Navel was arrested in California on charges including kidnapping. Investigators alleged Navel had used the platform's messaging features to make contact with a child before driving more than 200 miles to abduct her. Two further defendants, Clinton McElroy and Shane Patrick Pensack, were documented as having used the platform's currency to compel underage victims to produce explicit images. These cases are illustrative. The Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force has repeatedly identified the platform as a primary operational theater. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children named it as a primary location where suspects meet and recruit minors for abuse. The Litigation Wave. What followed the Bloomberg investigation and the Hindenburg Report was, by any reasonable measure, one of the most coordinated state-level legal assaults on a single technology company in recent American history. In August 2024, the Attorney General of Louisiana filed suit, alleging the corporation had intentionally failed to protect children. The Florida Attorney General followed. So did Texas. So did Iowa. Kentucky and Tennessee filed their own complaints. A multi-state coalition, West Virginia, Alabama, and Nevada, settled with the corporation for $35.8 million in safety education funding. In February 2026, Los Angeles County added its own suit. The legal theory connecting these complaints is the strategically important part. For more than a decade, technology platforms have shielded themselves from liability under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The post-2024 litigation is engineered to pierce that shield. It does not argue the corporation should be liable for what users said. It argues the corporation should be liable for what the corporation built, a product whose design choices, plaintiffs allege, made the harm not merely foreseeable but structurally inevitable. Internationally, the regulatory pressure tightened in parallel. The UK's Office of Communications, under the Online Safety Act, designated specific child protection duties. Australia's eSafety Commissioner formally placed the corporation on notice, citing $49.5 million civil penalties for non-compliance. In the EU, the Netherlands Authority opened a Digital Services Act investigation into the risks faced by an estimated 48 million monthly active minor users in the bloc. The Tier 1 designation. We return now to the cold open. The network the Government of Canada designated as a terrorist entity in December 2025 is a decentralized online network founded in the early 2020s. The U.S. Department of Justice has elevated investigations into it to a Tier 1 terrorism matter. The FBI has issued public service announcements warning that the network's operatives deliberately seek out vulnerable minors on user-generated content gaming platforms. The November 2024 sentencing of an operative named Richard Densmore, 30 years in federal prison, is one such public record. The April 2026 arrest in Quebec City of Jeffrey Roussel, charged under Canada's Criminal Code with participating in and facilitating terrorist activity, is another. The state attorney general filings from Kentucky and Tennessee documented something more specific. Both complaints identified by name an experience hosted on the platform, a brightly colored experience whose title evoked traditional childhood play, whose thumbnail was algorithmically appropriate, whose age rating placed it squarely within the audience of the youngest users. According to those filings, that experience was identified as a recruitment ground used by the network the U.S. Justice Department had already classified as a Tier 1 concern. The structural failure is the part of this story that survives any redaction. A corporation provided the digital real estate. Age verification was self-reported. The chat architecture defaulted to allowing adult-to-minor contact. The moderation was reactive, and every one of those design choices had been the subject of internal proposals for change that leadership had rejected. What it means. In November 2025, on a technology podcast hosted by the New York Times, the chief executive of the corporation was asked about the predator problem. His response, on the public record, was that the company thought of it not necessarily just as a problem, but as an opportunity as well. That same year, the corporation announced facial age estimation technology for users seeking access to certain chat features. It expanded a system called Trusted Connections, restricting under 13 chat unless contacts were explicitly approved by parents. It open-sourced an AI moderation tool called Sentinel. These mitigations are real, they are also late. The Australian eSafety Commissioner has stated publicly that her office remains highly concerned. The UK's Office of Communications is enforcing the Online Safety Act, with executives now legally accountable for risk assessments. The Netherlands Authority is actively probing whether the corporation is meeting Article 28 of the Digital Services Act. The question the litigation is now asking is a different one. It is the question of negligent design. It is the question of whether a product whose architecture was, on the documentary record, optimized for engagement at the cost of child safety, can claim the protections of a neutral host when the harm was, in the words of the plaintiffs, the structurally inevitable consequence of the architecture itself. The Louisiana Attorney General's filing put it most directly. The corporation, the filing alleged, knowingly and intentionally fails to provide notice to parents and child users of its extreme dangers, and it has created, curated, and perpetuated an online environment where child sex predators thrive, unite, hunt, and victimize kids. The platform now serves 144 million users a day. Roughly half of those users are children. The mitigations are arriving. The lawsuits are accumulating. The regulators are watching. What the public record now contains: the Hindenburg Report, the Bloomberg investigation, the multi-state AG complaints, the LA County suit, the $35.8 million tri-state settlement, the Densmore sentencing, the Roussel arrest, the Government of Canada terror designation, the Ofcom enforcement, the e-safety notice, the Digital Services Act investigation, is the most extensively documented institutional reckoning with a single user-generated content platform in the history of the consumer internet.